station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston station, this is Luca. I'm ready for the event.
Copy that. ESA, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is European Space Agency Jules Grandcy at the headquarters. How do you hear me?
I read you loud and clear. How do you read me?
Very good. Luca, on behalf of the European Space Agency, I'd like to express to you and your crewmates a congratulations for the work done so far inside and outside the space station, and our encouragement for the task ahead, conducting scientific experiments on board Columbus. And I hand over now to President Sagese.
Ciao Luca.
Luca, we often talk over the phone. Now for the first time I see you on screen. There are several things we want to ask you today. We have a lot of journalists today, but first of all, somebody's physically threatening me to give you a message. The Dean and Frank want to say hi to you directly.
Ciao Pina, ciao Franca.
How Pina, how Franca. I wish I could have seen you, but from here, I only have audio. But I send you a big hug from the station. Talking about more concrete things, the first thing that we spoke about over the phone the other day, we wanted to get your impressions, even from a technical standpoint, on what happened during the extravehicular activity. We saw many images, we saw your hands moving. A very long time, 6 hours, 15 minutes that you were out there. What did you do in particular? And what else do you have to do for the next extravehicular activity?
Sì,
yes. Just today, I completed the configuration of all the instruments that we're going to be using for the next spacewalk. My colleague Chris left me in charge of the next spacewalk, so I prepared the airlock for the activity, and I prepared the instruments, and I'll be the first one to leave the airlock. It's something that maybe not everybody appreciates, the honor of being able to leave the airlock first. Usually it's an activity that the EVA leader accomplishes, so this is a great honor for me to do that. In the past week, we have prepared the station for the arrival of a new Russian module, the MLM module, and we have started accomplishing some of the functions. Practically, we have connected the cable that will provide electrical power from the station to this new module. However, we still need to bring the data side. So in the next few days, my job will be to connect these cables that we left outside the station and to carry them from one end to the other of the station so that we can carry everything that deals with data. I have prepared a surprise for you today. I brought one of the gloves that I use during the EVA. This is my right glove, and I wanted to show you something, which it can seem pretty soft and flexible when it's not pressurized like this. However, you need to imagine how the suit becomes like a balloon when it's pressurized. So this glove becomes extremely rigid, and every time that I need to operate this glove, so grabbing an object or touching something, it's almost like squeezing a tennis ball. So imagine doing that for 6 hours and 15 minutes. So imagine the physical strength that is necessary to operate the suit. And then I brought you another object that a lot of people have asked me about, and It's this object here, which is not a pistol, it's not a cannon. It's called a PGT, the pistol grip tool, that is a computer connected to a simple screwdriver that is very, very precise, very powerful. It has a lot of exact torques that are needed for assembly and disassembly of various pieces of the station. So I used it to disassemble the camera, the one that I brought back in, and I will utilize it in the next TVA to assemble and disassemble other pieces so that we can improve on the station for the next crews to come.
Luca,
something that I would like for you to repeat for our journalists was the feelings that you had when you were on top of the robotic arm. You were telling me that when the robotic arm was being operated by your colleagues inside, you felt safe, whereas when it was being operated automatically, you had a little bit of a different feeling. Yes, it's strange to say. However, when I install myself into the robotic arm, I am connected to it by an interface to the feet, which is pretty stable. However, without weight, you don't feel this rigidity, because I float inside the suit some. So when Karen was moving the robotic arm from one side to the other, her inputs were so soft and ideal that I did not feel any movement, and I felt very solid in the structure. When the arm is operated automatically, the data calculated by the computers are a little higher, so there was a bit more motion that I felt inside the suit. Clearly, it's not as comfortable as it was when Karen was moving the arm from one side to the other. Luca, something else, another question that we have in general. Before we let you express an opinion on feelings that you had in speaking with children, was something about medicine, the experiments in medicine. We always say that the astronaut is a bit of a scientist from one side and a guinea pig from the other. Have you been subject to some experiments on your own body, or do you still need this experience? Really, I started immediately with experiments for medicine on my own body. We're conducting many. One in particular is called ProK, which is a very specific diet, which tends to balance in a very exact way animal protein and potassium that an astronaut ingests. So through this diet, we try to minimize calcium loss through the bones, which is this very rapid osteoporosis that is developed when an astronaut is weightless. The other experiments that we're conducting regarding medicine are very important, in my opinion. One is about vision. Recently, some studies have demonstrated that astronauts' vision can change during permanence on orbit. And we are conducting a series of studies through an ultrasound machine with an echocardiogram and another with a scope that looks at cornea and records any variation. And finally, and maybe not last, an experiment that will have the most immediate effect on Earth is a series of ultrasound on the spine that we conduct both as operators and subjects. This is a very important experiment because the study will allow us to diagnose utilizing simply an ultrasound machine. It's very simple. It's about the size of a laptop, whereas right now for this type of diagnosis, you need to do an MRI or other complete body scanning with very expensive machines that are very large and impossible to find in remote locations. So with these small machines, we are going to be able to conduct diagnostics on the Earth, even in areas that are hard to access.
Ok Luca,
Okay, Luca.
innanzitutto
Thank
ti
you so
saluto.
much.
Adesso passiamo alle domande direttamente.
Now we're going to go to the journalist questions. While they're getting ready, have you noticed any damages due to micrometeorites? One of the tasks that I had during my first spacewalk was to photograph some particular zones of the station. These photos are now underground being analyzed, clearly in much deeper ways. I personally have not noticed any particular damages, even on the suit, even on the components. I did not see any micrometeorites damages. And of course, then there will be some different analyses of the photos that could yield different results.
Ciao Luca, sono Andreana D'Aquino dell'agenzia.
Hi Luca, Andreana D'Aquino from ADN Kronos. Listen, first of all, great emotions, great pride in seeing you conduct your first spacewalk. Here's my questions. Did it go as you expected, or were there issues that from the Earth we were not able to see? And what kind of know-how are you going to bring back when you come back to the ground? That's many questions. The answer to the first questions are, were there any problems? I don't think any EVA ever happens the way it was planned. The greatest difference was when my colleague Chris was supposed to connect an electrical cable from an outlet to the other, and this cable was tangled up for almost 10 years, so it had a great memory and didn't want to unravel. So Chris had to use all his strength to unravel it, and this took some time. From the ground, our mission control had to change the plan a little for an activity that should have been conducted by me and Chris. At the same time, I ended up doing on my own. So covering the front part of the ISS that I ended up installing on my own was supposed to be done together, but really I ended up feeling fine doing it on my own, and I was very fast. So afterwards, Chris and I started a series of tasks that were part of the second EVA, so we kind of caught up and got ahead. So this is great, because tomorrow we'll have the opportunity to add even more operations next week, next week's EVA. About know-how, very easy. The extravehicular activity represents one of the key points of space exploration. We cannot go anywhere as humans if we do not have the ability to conduct this activity with the spacesuit and support systems. So in the future, we will need to develop new systems, and there are some already being developed, and as well as industries that are developing new spacesuits. If Italy wants to have a place at the table on what the future space systems will be, how we're going to explore new planets, in order to have a place at this table, we have to have this experience. I am speaking as a country, not as an individual. The individual is not of issue here. But now our country has a place at this table.
Ciao Luca, sono Rosa Praticò.
Hi Luca. Laura Praticò, SkyTG 24. I wanted to ask you what was the most moving moment, and if you were able to look at Earth, and what sensation it gave you. Surely the moment where Chris opened the airlock for the first time, and I saw from inside the Earth running by. That was a very powerful moment. I can't tell you how hard my heart was beating. But even though I had a very strong interior calm, because I knew what I was doing, and I was very sure of my capabilities, the moment that you come out of the station is a very special moment. It's a jump in the unknown. I didn't know how I was going to react. No one will know how they will react when they end up outside the station, when they finally exit and are connected to the structure with just one cable. So that was a very powerful moment. But in general, the entire activity was captivating. There's a moment that I remember very well when I connected with the arm. I was in the dark, and as I was translating, I saw dawn. And seeing dawn from the outside, it's very fast. And seeing it just through the visor separating me from this view, it was beautiful. It was very emotional. It was a vision that's outside the norm. It's something man is not prepared to see. The Earth, seen from there, is a spectacle. It's marvelous. It's truly a jewel.
Ciao Luca, sono Enrica Battifoglia.
Hi Luca, Enrica Battifoglia from ANSA Agency. Congratulations, you were great. But even from inside the spacesuit, you were able to transmit enthusiasm as you always do. I was wondering, what did you feel when you first looked outside the space station, even considering that it was dark?
Ciao Enrica,
Hi Enrica.
Grazie, questa è un'ottima domanda.
This is a great question. Actually, when we came out of the airlock, it was light, but we entered darkness shortly thereafter. So when we came out, twilight was about to start. So my first image that I saw coming out of the crew lock,
La dinamica e la coreografia dell'uscita
the choreography of the exit
come farò io la prossima volta
is such that the number one person exits head first, whereas the second person goes out feet first. So I came out feet first with the idea of going through a manhole. But when I came out, I kind of felt upside down because I felt with the head towards the station and the feet towards the earth. And I thought, something's wrong. I'm upside down. It was a sensation that lasted an instant. And then we started working on checking the spacesuit and checking my colleague's spacesuit. So I changed orientation. And from there, after this instant of just marvel and surprise in finding myself to be so comfortable, my focus immediately was towards the work at hand. In particular, in the first EVA for all, when it's your first time as an astronaut, they give you about 15 minutes to get used to it. So I prefer to spend these 15 minutes by translating to the work site, thinking that I would have become accustomed to the space.
Buongiorno Luca, sono Flavia Fratello della televisione.
Hi Luca, Flavia Fratello from La Sette.
La mia domanda è questa.
Here's my question.
Hai praticamente fatto tutto ciò che può aspirare a fare un astronauta.
You practically did everything that an astronaut can aspire to. You did an EVA, you're in a long-term mission. What is your next objective? Going to Mars? And if they proposed a one-way mission, would you accept? First of all,
l'ho detto l'altro giorno a dei
I said this the other day to some students in Italy, and I continue to say, if you stop, you're lost. You should never stop. You should never stop dreaming. And I continue dreaming. I have other dreams, other ambitions. Of course, I would like to come back to the station, maybe with a primary role, even for Italy and for the Italian and European space agencies. Going to Mars, going to the moon, why not? I always say, the highest you look, the highest the arrow is going to land. So I'm very happy to be dreaming in that direction. As far as a one-way trip, maybe before I answer the question, I should probably talk to my wife and my daughters and see what they think about it.
Ciao Luca, Manuela Maddaloni, Mediaset.
Hi Luca, Maddalena from Mediaset. You have photos of your daughters. I was wondering what words you used to explain your work to them. And what are you going to do when you come back?
Io credo che il modo migliore di parlare.
I think that the best way to talk to my daughters is to explain what I do exactly the way I explain it to you. Maybe a little bit simpler, but explaining that it's an important job because it's a job that looks to the future. So it is for them too. So the astronaut is only one.
Uno dei punti di quella che è un'esplorazione spaziale.
One of the points of what space exploration is. So I explained that looking far down the road, looking to the future and exploration is something that is part of us and it's important to do. And that it's always important to have this spark of curiosity inside of us. I told that to my daughters, look at the stars, and when you see a brighter star coming, streaking across the sky, that's your dad. And if you think it's something beautiful, then you'll know that I'm doing my job. As far as what I'm going to be doing when I get back to Earth, it's hard to say. I'm trying not to think about my return, because of all times that you pass on station, thinking about coming back is the saddest. So aside from a nice shower, I have not thought about what I'm going to be doing when I come back.
Thank you, Luca. That concludes the event.
Copy. Thank you very much thank you everybody for your questions and your time.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Isa.
And thank you very much for the support.
Stations, we are now resuming operational audio communications.